For the past 9 weeks, I've been running an experiment on my friends to test the 2-minute rule from the widely famous book Atomic Habits by James Clear. The question is, can you form a new habit in 2 minutes? And I predicted yes. And I was wrong. Here's what happened. I took 11 of my friends and had them give me 2 goals each. I then tracked their progress for 9 weeks and plotted their percent success and their utilization of the priming step on a scatter plot. I found the R-square value for all 22 plots, which told me the strength of correlation between priming step and goal achievement percentage, which, spoiler, did not support my prediction. Whoops. Then I surveyed the guys to determine whether having a predefined 2-minute first step made it easier for them to accomplish their goals, and most of them said no. Double whoops. Why am I doing this? Well, I started the channel for a couple reasons. Mainly because myself and my friends are dudes who want to improve ourselves. We want to be healthier and more confident. We want to be more disciplined and more motivated. Wise Down is different because we do real research on neuroscience and psychology and mental health. And then we make content like this so that dudes in the audience who are trying to better themselves, like hopefully you, can actually use our research to be better. If you like that vision, then the best way to support us is to subscribe. And one thing we're currently researching is control, which is our ability to change our behaviors, like habits, for example. Which brings us to the 2-minute rule. The idea is that every habit has a 2-minute form. It's like putting the habit on easy mode. Reading a book becomes read 1 page a day. Go for a run becomes tie your shoes. I tried to find some actual research about the 2-minute rule, but I found nothing. So we made our own. And this is where the wheels come off. Like I said before, 11 dudes, 2 goals each, 9 weeks. For each habit, the guys had to make a 2-minute easy mode version. I call it a priming step. We tracked priming steps and goal achievement, and then using some stats and a whole bunch of data, we figured out how much the priming step was causing total goal achievement. So in other words, did having an easy 2-minute first step actually help the boys accomplish bigger goals? For anyone interested, we did this by calculating the coefficient of determination for all 22 goals. I just plotted each goal for 9 weeks on a scatter plot, and I let Excel do the rest. I don't feel like doing that math. If the 2-minute rule is a perfect system, there should be a really strong correlation between the priming step, right, and goal achievement. That R-squared value should be pretty high. It should be close to 1. It was not. At least not consistently enough for me to think that I'm right. One guy's goal was to do physical therapy exercises 7 times a week. His priming step was to make a quick workout plan before his lift. Sometimes he'd make the plan and not do the workout. In the end, his priming step ended up being a gigantic waste of time. Sorry, dude. But for some people, the priming step was perfect. One guy's goal was to put his shoes on before running every day. Every time he put his shoes on, he ran. That's awesome because running sucks, but he doesn't need to make running his habit now. He can make putting his shoes on his habit, which is infinitely easier, and he'll still run. And this is where my first mistake happens. One of many. There's a lot of mistakes here. This is where the first one is. Because a priming step has to do more than just lead to more work, right? It has to make that work easier or more attractive. Having this 2-minute first step means nothing if it doesn't get you to run more often. So I surveyed a couple of the guys to see if they felt like having a defined first step made them more motivated or more likely to accomplish their goals. Do you think that the priming steps helped you achieve your goals?
Honestly, I guess I would say no. It was not too influential, I would say. The priming step was sort of like mapping out my workout. At a certain point, I was so beyond over it. I just thought that was ridiculous. It was like impeding my process and almost slowing me down a little bit.
Yeah, I was wrong there too. Told you, wheels off. I even added a secondary endpoint to the experiment. That's like when you have a kind of side experiment or a mini experiment inside the main experiment. I thought that maybe this 2-minute rule isn't supposed to work in a vacuum or on its own. Atomic Habits is a long book. Maybe you have to do more than one thing to see results. So I took another one of James Clear's ideas called habit stacking, and I included it in the study. Habit stacking says that if you want to start doing a new habit, add it to something you're already doing. I kind of manipulated the guys into making one goal or one priming step stacked and one that wasn't. That was unstacked. Piled. I don't know, whatever. So the guy with the goal to run, for example, had to put his shoes on as soon as he got home from work. He's already coming home from work, that's an established behavior, so we attach a new behavior onto the thing he's already doing. If I'm right about the 2-minute rule working like better together, you could say, we should see more success with stacked habits than with unstacked ones. We did not. And for those of you keeping track at home, I'm 0 for 3. While I'm down, we should mention that this experiment was really flawed. All the participants are my friends. It's based on the honor system, so you could definitely lie if you wanted to. There's a small sample size. There's just so many flaws in this that we can't draw conclusions. So why am I making an entire video about me being wrong? And how does it answer the question of can we form a new habit in 2 minutes? Well, being wrong is the reality of research. You make a guess, you spend 3 months and countless hours testing it, and sometimes you're completely wrong, just like I was here. The other thing is that you can learn a lot by being wrong, especially if you can figure out why you were wrong. That's foreshadowing. I figured it out. I think I figured it out. I've been wrong before. My understanding was that if you define the first 2 minutes of something, you can trick your brain into doing more than 2 minutes of work. But James Clear actually said something a little bit different. He said, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. As in, the whole thing. And this sounds like ludicrous to me. Like, why would you make a habit out of tying your shoes and not go for a run? And this is where it gets pretty cool. My assumption was that when we make a new habit, our brain codes, or you could say our brain remembers all of it as one big behavior with lots of steps. So going to the gym is encoded as the step 1, put on clothes, step 2, fill the water bottle, step 3, drive to the gym, step 4, work out, etc. But it's all still one big behavior, right? I figured that making step 1 easy would mean the entire behavior was easier, and that would mean the guys would accomplish their goals more often. And if that was true, this experiment probably would have worked. But by now you know it did not even close. Which means that this very flawed data suggests, it does not conclude, we can't conclude, it suggests that our brains don't actually learn or code habits as one big behavior. We can see this with a guy whose goal it was to get 8 hours of sleep every night. His priming step was to be in bed by 10 o'clock, and he did that pretty well. But even when he was in bed at 10, he didn't always get his 8 hours of sleep. Because after getting into bed, he would scroll on his phone or watch TV or read a book or whatever. This indicates to me that there is space between steps for other things to happen, which might mean that our brain doesn't encode behaviors as one big process, but instead as little steps that then get connected together in a unit of behavior. There's evidence for this. We know of a process called chunking, where our brains start with a trial and error, they see what works and what eventually leads to a reward, and then they do that over and over and over again until they have a fully formed behavior or habit. So you put on your shoes, and that's habit 1. It's not step 1 of a habit, it's an entire habit alone. James Clear's idea was to make the first habit first, just put on your shoes. Then the next one, then the one after that. Whereas my idea was to try to do it all at once. My idea did not work, but maybe his does. We don't know. This experiment didn't test his. But because I was so massively wrong in my experiment, it opens up really cool ideas for future experiments and more research. So to answer the question, can you start a new habit in 2 minutes? I don't know. But we're a little closer to finding out. That's research. How cool is that? If you want more real research, real data, and eventually, I hope, real results about mental toughness and performance, especially for dudes, then subscribe, and thank you to all my friends who keep letting me experiment on you. I really appreciate you, and I love you as people. I promise I won't lobotomize you, even though I think that would be really, really cool. Outro.